I'd like to welcome all of you to our 12th Naperville Business Networking Meeting of 2021. I'm very excited this morning to have all of you here on Zoom, as well as our 5 networking groups on Facebook Live and my company page, QCamp. And I'd like to thank our special guest, Julie Bronstetter, for coming today. My name is Michelle Sherritt, and I'm one of the founders of the Naperville Business Network. I'm also a local business owner running 2 businesses here in town. QCamp is a full digital marketing firm specializing in creating user-friendly websites, social media marketing, SEO strategy, and advertising. And Situated Research is a usability firm where we have 6 PhDs on staff specializing in different areas of usability. We test everything from video games to software and websites to ensure that they are user-friendly. Before we begin this morning, I'd like to do some brief housekeeping items and tell you a little bit more about our network of business groups. We are comprised of 5 powerful networking groups. We own the Naperville, Oak Brook, Northwest, Windy City, and North Shore business networks. We started these groups back in 2008 on LinkedIn, and they have grown to be the largest networking groups for those areas on LinkedIn. We decided about 2 years ago to take the groups live and in person, and we now have 335 paid members. We're still growing, and we'd love to have you become a member as well. As we know, with COVID, our groups have only been meeting virtually this year. We did have some in-person events, but then put that on hold for a little bit. But we will, starting in January 2022, be live again. Even during the pandemic and being online only, we have gained new membership and have kept our current members. We've offered additional advertising options for their businesses, and we've helped members connect with other members as well. You can learn more about our membership, advertising opportunities, and upcoming events at naperbiz.net. Today, because we are on so many different platforms, we ask that you stay muted. And if you have a question, please type it in the chat box if you are on Zoom. And if you are on Facebook Live, please type your questions in the comment section. We'll go ahead and moderate those at the very end. Today's session will be recorded, so you will have the opportunity, if you need to leave or jump off, to review the recording at your leisure just by visiting our website at naperbiz.net and going to the events page. Today's speaker is Julie Bronstetter. Julie is a certified professional coach who is passionate about partnering with leaders to confidently take charge of their personal and professional lives. Today, Julie will be talking to us about how to grow mental muscle to thrive in challenging times. Welcome, Julie.
Thank you so much, Michelle. Should I spotlight?
You can if you want.
Just so my presentation can be a little bit small if I'm not. So if everybody can see that. Okay, thank you so much for the warm welcome. Hello to everybody on Facebook Live. I wish I could see you all, but I really appreciate you all joining me today. So before we begin, and I guess I'm going to ask more of a bit of a hypothetical question since I can't see you all, I want to ask, how many of you have ever developed like a word or a mantra for the year? Some people choose the word like positivity or productivity. So in 2020, I unconsciously chose the word fear. Fear of the pandemic, fear of life without my mother, who I unfortunately lost at the beginning of the pandemic last year, fear of the unknowns of my career when I left corporate in July. And in 2021, I made a conscious choice, and I chose the phrase, be fierce. So what changed was my mental fitness, which is exactly what I'm going to be talking about with you all today. I've been exercising my brain for over a year now, and it's getting stronger and stronger every day. So we all know the importance of physical fitness. Let's talk about the importance of mental fitness. And we will start, if I can move my screen, with a definition. So the definition of mental fitness is your capacity to respond to life's challenges with a positive versus negative mindset. It's essentially using your brain as your friend versus your enemy. We are still in the middle of a global pandemic here, people. If you had to quarantine, do you want to quarantine with your friend or your enemy? I hope you all know the answer to that. Becoming more mentally fit also impacts peak performance, peace of mind and wellness, and healthy relationships. So I hope that right there intrigues you about learning more. A little bit about the research. I am not a scientist. As Michelle mentioned, I am a coach, but I do think it is important for you all to know that what I'm talking about here today is rooted in science. So the idea of mental fitness is derived from the practice and science of positive intelligence, which is developing mastery over your own mind so you can reach your full potential for both happiness and success. And those two words are highlighted for a reason, happiness and success, because I know every single person who's watching this right now is a successful person. But what I don't know is if you've been happy along the path to success. I don't know if you've been happy when you've reached those successful milestones. And I don't know if you're happy right now. Wouldn't it be great to be both happy and successful all at once? The image at the bottom right here is really, again, just to reinforce that this is rooted in science. It comes from positive psychology, neuroscience, cognitive psychology, and performance science. Research includes results from hundreds of CEOs and their executive teams, world-class athletes, and a lot of participants worldwide. And I do think it's important that you all know that this isn't just North America or US based, this is global research. And all of this is found in this book that, yes, I have strategically placed, called Positive Intelligence by Shirzad Chamine. And you all are getting a crash course because what we're talking about here today is not only based on this book, but I run an 8-week mental fitness boot camp. So you all are getting kind of the Cliff Notes version of that here today. So we have a bit of a foundation. We know what mental fitness is. Let's talk about kind of the root of today's presentation, and that's those core muscles. So according to the research, there's only 3 core muscles at the root of mental fitness. There's your saboteur interceptor, your sage, and your self-command muscle. And I'm sure you all are like, really, Julie, what the heck? I never knew that I had these muscles or that I have, this is the root of mental fitness. Well, thank you for being here today. That's what we're going to talk about. And we're going to start with one that's probably the most difficult, but also the one that is easiest to understand. And I think you'll know quickly when you see this image, and that's your saboteur interceptor. So you see this image and I'm sure you're all like, oh yeah, got it. Yes, I am beating myself up. I get it. So what is a saboteur? It's a self-sabotaging thought or character, which you'll learn about here momentarily, that deliberately damages or destroys you. Like I said, we're constantly beating ourselves up. And why? Because we have these characters living inside of our brains, sabotaging us and feeding us lies. And it's important to distinguish the difference between these characters and your true self. Because your true self would never take this photo. Your true self would never put on a punching glove and start, punching your head. But these saboteurs, these characters, they have no problem putting on punching gloves too, going in full swing to sabotage you and beat you up. So who are these saboteurs? Let's get to know them a little bit. Well, the helm is your judge. Judge is ugly, right? And your judge is your master saboteur. Everybody has the judge. You might know your judge as your inner critic or your gremlin, but at the root, everybody has a judge. And they come in all shapes and sizes. Some are more aggressive, some are a little, more meek and quiet like mine, and I'll introduce my judge to you here in a little bit. But your judge was developed early on for survival, both physically and emotionally. This is where your coping mechanisms came from. And I think it's really important to highlight that word survival. You notice that today's presentation is not called How to Grow Mental Muscle to Survive Challenging Times. Like, how unmotivating is that? How uninspiring is that? We're all surviving We're all here. You all showed up. You made it. So your judge was not developed to help you thrive. It was needed as a young kid to protect you, to feel safe, but it was not there to help you thrive throughout life. So there's 3 modes of the judge. Judgment of self and others, I think, is pretty easy to understand. Judgment of circumstances, though, I think requires a little bit of defining. This is the quintessential "I'll be happy when" syndrome. I'll be happy when I get the promotion. I'll be happy when I get the new job. I'll be happy when I win the lottery. Well, research actually shows that even those people who hit the pinnacle of happiness on winning the lottery soon after go back to their baseline of happiness that they were feeling before they won the lottery. They're back to the "I'll be happy when I win the lottery again," or when I get a bigger house, or whatever that case may be. So again, going back to that definition of what positive intelligence is, mastery over your own mind so that you can reach your peak potential for both happiness and success. That's where, being happy along the path to the "I'll be happy whens." It's not about, being happy when you reach those. It's about being happy every single day along the path. So as it relates to, fitness, we're going to use, that analogy a lot throughout the course of today's presentation. You've been working out, lifting weights with your judge for a long time. Like I said, it was developed early as a child. So your judge is really, really strong, but your judge does not work alone. According to the research, there are 9 accomplice saboteurs, and everybody has at least 1 or 2. So I'm going to give a little brief introduction to each of these saboteurs. So we'll first start with the controller. The controller character has a strong need to control and take charge. The lie this character says is, "Without me, we cannot get much done. I need to push us to get us to the finish line." That push is really important, and we'll talk more about that push here in a little bit. The hyper-rational. This character is very competitive and focused on external success, losing deeper, more emotional connection. This saboteur absolutely suffers from the "I'll be happy when" syndrome, because they will be happy only when they win or get the trophy or get the medal or, however they define winning. The lies this character says is, "Feelings are a distraction from achieving my goals. I'm going to push them aside and keep my eye on the winning prize." The next character is the restless. Have you ever worked with somebody who says yes to every new shiny project and then simply forgets about the other mundane projects that they have going on? This is absolutely the restless at play. They are always on to the next best thing. And the lie this saboteur tells you is FOMO. Fear of missing out is absolutely at the root of this saboteur. Your next saboteur character is the stickler. This is your quintessential perfectionist. The lie it tells you is, "It is up to me and me alone to fix whatever mess I encounter, no matter whose mess it is. Don't worry, I'll fix your mess as well because I can do it and I can do it right." The pleaser. The pleaser has an indirect attempt to gain acceptance and affection by helping, pleasing, rescuing, or flattering others. The lies it tells you is, "I help others selflessly and I don't expect anything in return until I'm completely overloaded because I've said yes to everything and now I resent everybody that I'm helping." So this saboteur has a hard time setting boundaries. Hi, yes, that would be me. Nice to meet you all. Or that's the character inside of me. It comes out often. The hypervigilant. This character has continuous intense anxiety about all the dangers in life and a strong focus on what could go wrong. If you've ever read the story or heard the story of the boy who cried wolf, this is very much the hypervigilant. The lies it tells you is that there are the dangers all around you are way bigger than they actually are, and that non-stop vigilance is the best way to tackle them. Next up is the avoider. This character has avoidance of any difficult or unpleasant task or conflict, also known as the peacemaker. This saboteur lie is, you're not avoiding conflict. You're being flexible and sparing other people's feelings. Good for you. Hello. The victim. The victim saboteur has extreme focus on internal feelings, particularly painful ones. The lies it tells you is that sadness is a notable and sophisticated thing that shows exceptional depth, insight, and sensitivity. Those who have the victim saboteur may confuse expressing deep sadness as a strength in confidently showcasing vulnerability. Because vulnerability is absolutely the strength of leaders, 100%. But when we confuse that vulnerability with this deep sadness that we're projecting, then we know the victim is at play. And the last saboteur is the hyper-rational. This is an intense and exclusive focus on the rational processing of everything, including relationships. This saboteur does not bother with messy emotions. The lies it tells you is stick to the facts. People who say lead with their heart or gut obviously don't know how to use their heads. It's interesting living with someone who is a hyper-rational as me being a pleaser and avoider, because man, our saboteurs can have a heyday as I lead with my heart and emotion, and his saboteur leads with logic and fact. And I'm sure you all are laughing as you're hearing some of these descriptions, because I'm sure you too are like, oh God, that's me. Oh God, yep, that's my partner, or that's my coworker, or that's my mom, or that's my dad. And what you can do, I raised my hand on like, these are my top, you can actually take a free assessment on positiveintelligence.com to find out who your top saboteurs are. And like I said, I was willing to let you all know that the pleaser and avoider are absolutely saboteurs that I've been working on over the last year plus as I've been growing my mental fitness. And you'll notice here too that the results don't include the judge, because like I said, the judge is the master saboteur. Everybody has that. So that's, even above the pleaser here in this example. So like I said, if you're interested in taking this assessment, you can do so for free at positiveintelligence.com. So one question that I have for all of you, and I know a lot of people are on Facebook Live, but if you want to put in the chat, if you're here on Zoom, is which saboteur that I just talked about resonates the most with you? Which one feels like could be a character or two that live inside of you? Okay, we have the avoider, like I said, mine is the pleaser and the avoider, the controller. Sometimes even the restless for me, FOMO is definitely one that pops up for me a lot. The pleaser, I saw controller again. The pleaser. Okay, thank you all so much. Continue to add in the chat and continue to add on Facebook Live. So something as you're thinking about each of these characters and thinking about your judge, you might be wondering or asking me like, Julie, I'm hearing that you're describing these, through the lens of negativity, and I understand why, I get it. But I gotta say, my judge and my saboteurs, they've pushed me. I've gotten to where I am because of them. So they're kind of my friends, right? So I'm going to challenge you and ask you, at what cost? Do you prefer the push of negative reinforcement, or do you prefer the pull of positive reinforcement? So I'm going to challenge you and say, lies! That is a lie. Your judge and your saboteurs are not your friends. They are your greatest enemies. And here's the thing, these saboteurs at their root have your greatest strengths. But they become a saboteur when your greatest strengths are on overdrive or on steroids. At my core, I am all about serving and partnering with other people. It's when I say yes so much that my plate is overflowed, that I can't serve the people the way that I truly know I can serve them, is when it becomes a saboteur. So now that we've introduced you to these saboteurs, you might be thinking, okay, how do I stop them then? How do I weaken them? How can I, make them not feeding me lies all of the time? Well, I'm about to have an Oprah moment here. So sit back, because you get a label, you get a label, everyone gets a label. You label them, call them out, expose them, give them a name. The name for my judge is the manipulative abuser. I call her Ma. And I don't have a problem calling her Ma, because my mother hated to be called Ma. So it almost reinforced the name of calling her Ma. And my manipulative abuser tells me things like, oh, Julie, you can't start a coaching business. It's just not in you. And that's okay. Not everyone can succeed. I'm just going to give you a hug. And sometimes I feel that hug coming on, and I feel my shoulders, slumping a little. And at times that hug can seem like, a warm, like it wants to be warm. But then as she squeezes, it's an evil manipulative hug. And I'm like, hold on a second. I don't like that. Thank you. Thank you for stopping by, Ma. I appreciate it. I needed that hot stove, right? Like, you think about putting your hand on a hot stove, you need to feel that pain to pull your hand away. I need to feel the pain of those evil arms in order for my true self to be like, hello, we're here. I see you. I see you, Ma. And thanks for stopping by. Now I'm in control, and I am going to proceed how I want to proceed. Think about it as a haunted house. You go into a haunted house, it's scary, it's dark, you can't see anything, people are jumping out at you, but you turn that light on and it's not so scary. These people have some paint on. They're just people doing a job at that moment. So when we can expose them, when we can expose our enemies, they are instantly weaker. So we spend a lot of time on the saboteur interceptor, and I do that for a reason, because it's a lot to take in. And it can be hard to digest. But again, I think that's one that people can really relate to. Next, we're gonna jump to the positive side. So we're gonna talk about your sage. So the sage is what the research identifies as the positive side of your brain. This is where you can access emotions like empathy, curiosity, creativity, passion, purpose. And you can unlock these powers through what the research calls the sage perspective. And that's that every outcome or circumstance can be turned into a gift and opportunity. I'm going to read that again. Every outcome or circumstance can be turned into a gift and opportunity. And I know that can be hard to swallow, especially if you're going through something difficult or challenging right now. That can be really hard to take a step back and think, what? There's a gift or opportunity in this situation that I'm living? So I'm going to bring this perspective to life through an old Chinese fable. It's an old story called Maybe It's Good, Maybe It's Bad. Once upon a time, there was an old farmer who had worked on his crops for many years. One day, his horse ran away. Upon hearing the news, the neighbors came to visit. Such bad luck, they said sympathetically. Maybe it's good, maybe it's bad, the farmer replied. The next morning, the horse returned, bringing with it 3 other wild horses. What great luck, the neighbors explained. Maybe it's good, maybe it's bad, replied the old man. The following day, the farmer's son tried to ride one of the untamed horses, was thrown off, and broke his leg. The neighbors came again to offer their sympathy on his misfortune. Maybe it's good, maybe it's bad, answered the farmer again. The day after, military officials came to the village to draft young men into the army. Seeing that the son's leg was broken, they passed him by. The neighbors congratulated the farmer on how well things had turned out. Maybe it's good, maybe it's bad, yet again, replied the farmer. So you might be sitting there thinking, okay, Julie, he just kind of let life happen and it all ended up turning out for the best. Well, I want to ask, which perspective could be true? The saboteur saying this is bad or the sage saying this is a gift? And this is where it turns into a self-fulfilling prophecy. because it's whichever one you believe comes true. So another way to put the SAGE perspective to practice is through a 3-to-1 ratio. For every one bad thing that you label, combat that with 3 either gifts and opportunities that you've experienced as you reflect, or 3 potential gifts and opportunities. If you're going through something right now, taking a step back, almost, kind of looking at a 30,000-foot view and go, what could the gifts and opportunities be based on what's going on right now? So I'll give you an example. I'm just going to lump 2020 as my one, right? I think a lot of people could lump 2020 and I don't know, maybe even 2021. It hasn't been a super, super great year, but 2020 is my one bad thing. So the 3 gifts and opportunities that came out of 2020, I am developing an entirely new relationship with my dad. I mentioned that I lost my mom at the beginning of the pandemic last year, and I've always had a great relationship with my dad, but man, he is a lot cooler than I ever knew that he was. We're having a really good time getting to know each other on a whole different level. The second, I have successfully baked my mother's pies for Thanksgiving now twice. Yes, thank you to my aunt who is on right now, who I must have called 25 times, but it was my absolute favorite part of the holidays last year and this year in actually bringing something that would bring so much joy to others that I got to do myself. And the third gift is I would have never started my coaching practice at the beginning of this year had I not lived through 2020. And this coaching practice is a dream I never even knew I had. So there you go. There's an example. And here's what I'm not saying. I am not saying that bad things are good. I would never sit and tell you that losing my mom last year is good. But here's the thing. Bad things do happen. It's what we do afterwards that really shows how mentally fit we can truly be and how we can progress forward while still being happy and successful. So that is the SAGE muscle. Let's get into the final muscle here, and that's the self-command muscle. And the self-command muscle is, as it relates to fitness, the one that relates the most anyway, because it's essentially weightlifting for your brain. And weightlifting through these specific sensory exercises. And what I mean by that is try this with me. Rub 2 fingertips together with such attention that you can actually feel the ridges on both of your fingertips. And just focus on that sensation for a few moments. Or try this. Try putting your feet flat on the ground and try wiggling your toes. But wiggle them in a way where you can try and find as many individual toes as you possibly can. I'm like, how many toes can I find? So here's the thing. The research shows, MRI data actually shows that if you focus on a specific sensation, like what we just tried, for as little as 10 seconds, the positive side of your brain actually starts lighting up. And here's the thing, you don't have to be in a meditative-like mindset to do these, because you might be thinking, Julie, this sounds a lot like meditation. And it is a little. It's kind of like meditation 101, but honestly, it's more like meditation 01. Because like I said, you don't have to be in that meditative mindset where, it's people associate like, I need a dark room and I need to close my eyes and totally get into this state. You can do these exercises any place, anytime, anywhere. I've been doing them this whole time to keep my positive side of the brain activated, and you haven't even known it. I have a meditation rock right here that I'm constantly holding and rubbing and commanding my mind to feel this. And that's what keeps me focused and keeps the positive side of my brain activated as much as I possibly can throughout the course of the day. The self-command muscle is one that I actually flexed the hardest last year. So when I lost my mom, grieving was very sad and heavy. And when I learned about mental fitness and started to really build that muscle, I started to become more curious about where the grief was living. So when I knew a memory popped up of my mom, I was sad. And I would immediately go into sad, crying, depression, and avoidance. And so when I was able to recognize and label, like, I am sad, I've now exposed that I am sad and probably feeling a bit like a victim at that moment. My victim saboteur was probably very high. So I'm like, okay, where's this sadness and where's this victim saboteur living? And it was living right above my heart. And it was warm and it was tingly and it was a lot of pressure. And sometimes that pressure would go up and create a lump in my throat. And the more curious I became about what was going on, where that saboteur was living, the lighter I all of a sudden started to become. Because I had quieted my mind, I got out of my head and I got into my body. Because when we're feeling and we're in our bodies, all of those saboteurs are quiet. We've silenced them. We've commanded them to shut up, essentially. And so when I would feel that grief and feel where it lived, and all of a sudden I became lighter, those memories that were so sad, that brought on such sadness, reminded me these memories are happy memories. Do I wish I could live more? Yes, 100%. But am I so happy that I have those 38 years of memories with my mom? Yeah. So the grieving process went from sad to honoring and loving her and keeping her memory in me in such a positive and productive way. I hope you all are okay with me sharing such a personal story, because this developing my mental fitness has really just been transformational. And I love to share those personal stories with you all to let you know how my journey has truly changed me. So we've talked about a lot, okay? We've talked about the 3 core muscles at the root of mental fitness. And here's the formula. If you notice that you're in a negative emotion, you're feeling anger, frustration, or sadness, or stress, whatever that negative emotion is, stop. You are in saboteur mode. Label it, identify it, give it a name, expose it, turn the light on at the haunted house and look it straight in the eye, because I promise it is not nearly as scary as it was before. And once you've exposed it, then wrap it out. Put those sensory meditative like exercises to work to quiet that chatter, to bring yourself into your body, to bring you more in control. Because when you're in control and are more clear-headed, you have the opportunity and ability to start seeing the sage perspective, to start seeing the gifts and opportunities that might be coming from this circumstance or outcome that's feeding you negative emotions. And here's the thing, it doesn't matter which saboteur it is. I don't want to, put pressure on you that it's like in that moment, like, is this the avoider? Is this the pleaser? Is this the hypervigilant? Is this the victim? Doesn't matter. Is this the judge? Doesn't matter. All that matters is that you are in a negative emotion, because then you are being hijacked and your true self has lost control. So this is an opportunity to label it and bring your true self to the forefront to start controlling those emotions. So a path to success, if you're hearing this and you're like, wow, this sounds great, Julie, I definitely want to make a change. Well, I love this quote, because if you change nothing, nothing will change. So what is it that you would want to change? Do you want to start, working on your saboteur interceptor and labeling those judging and saboteur thoughts, exposing them? Maybe your first step is giving your judge a name. That actually is a pretty fun exercise. Oops, sorry. Do you want to work on your sage? Do you want to start trying to see the gifts and opportunities, maybe doing a little reflection on 2021? What a great time of year as we're going into 2022 and thinking about all the gifts and opportunities that you've gained from what's gone on in 2021. Or do you want to start working your self-command muscle? You know, do you want to start trying these meditative like exercises throughout the course of the day? Getting a meditation rock and trying to use that to stay, you know, activating that positive side as much as you can throughout the course of the day. So a challenge for you all, commit to which muscle you want to focus on, commit to one of those three, create accountability, whether, you know, through these amazing networking groups that Michelle has started, or through your friend groups or with your partner. Talk to somebody, let them know, this is what I learned. This is what I want to focus on. Do you want to do it with me? Man, partner accountability can be an amazing thing. Take the Saboteur assessment. Like I said, it's on positiveintelligence.com. You click on the Saboteur assessment at the top. Takes just a couple minutes. You'll get your results pretty quickly. You can start identifying which saboteurs are currently showing up you the most, or showing up in you the most. Read the book Positive Intelligence right here. It's a great book, and I do not like science books. Let me tell you, they can feel like textbooks. This is an easy read. It's a very simple framework, and Shirzad brings a lot of personal stories, and then he brings the stories of others who are involved in his research. So it's a really great combination of research and storytelling. And I, like I said, don't like science books. So I'm vouching that I enjoyed reading it. So just one closing thought, if you will, and maybe you all have heard this, but there are two wolves that live inside of you, and they are constantly fighting. One is good and one is evil. And which one wins is the one that you feed. And I want you to feed your sage, because look at how cute your sage brain is. It's so happy. It's your true self coming to life. And when you feed your sage, maybe you too can come up with a mantra, not just for the year, but maybe for your lifetime. Thank you all so much. My contact information is here. Like I said, this is based on an 8-week mental fitness boot camp that I run. You all got the Cliff Notes version of it. So if you're interested in hearing more, I would love to talk with you. But Michelle, thank you again for inviting me. And I am open to take any questions.
Yeah, so let's start with Zoom. If anyone on Zoom would like to unmute.
Thank you. This is Don. I just want to let you know that I appreciate what you said today. And I liked at the end, you mentioned a book that I had not yet heard about, the Positive Intelligence book. So thank you very much for stuff.
You're welcome. Thank you for joining. Really appreciate it.
Yes.
Nobody else? All right. So on Facebook Live, just a lot of comments. And really strong comments about how this has affected them today. And they never really thought of their brain this way and never thought of themselves. The different descriptions you were giving for victim and controller, they were like, yeah, that's me. So a lot of those, some people said, what things can I do today to start changing?
Yeah, so those three core muscles, you can pick one. You can really start practicing any of those. So a simple exercise for your saboteur interceptor, name your judge. Give your judge a name that will help you when you're getting into that sabotaging thought. For the most part, the root of the judge's message is you're not good enough. Okay, that's really the root message that our judge typically gives us. You know, it can come in like, you're not smart enough, you're not worthy enough, you're not deserving enough, you're not valued enough. Okay, but at the root is you're not enough. So the first thing, give that judge a name, give that thought a name, because the second you start feeling the I'm not good enough, you can be like, oh, hello, judge, and start having almost like a little dialogue with it. Like, it's great to see you, appreciate you stopping by, I don't need you. And let's show you to the door. So that can be one for the saboteur interceptor. Your sage, doing a little journal entry today and just reflecting on whether you want to reflect on 2021, you want to reflect on the day, you want to reflect on the week, just asking yourself a question. What's one outcome or circumstance that I labeled as bad? And what gifts and opportunities came about from that?
Okay.
And as far as the self-command muscle, you know, start trying to think about doing these meditative exercises throughout the course of the day. You know, when you get up to go get a drink of water or need to use the restroom, take 30 seconds, rub 2 fingertips together and feel those ridges, or try and find as many of your toes. Or if you want to do a breathing exercise, think about breathing in a different way, where it's almost feeling the temperature of the air going in your nostrils and the temperature of air going out of your nostrils. Again, focusing on that specific sensation. When you already know you're gonna, you know, pause for a moment in your busy day, try and add 30 seconds in and do something that commands your mind to just pause for a moment.
Okay. Somebody else asked, what was the link to the assessment again? Maybe I should just type that in.
Yeah, you know what? I can pull that up real quick. It's positiveintelligence.com. Let's see if I can pull it up quickly. And it's the saboteur link at the top. So I'll just throw it in the chat, Michelle. Here you go.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
What else? How do you suggest people stay on a path that is good and staying focused?
So this is where I think accountability is really, really key. You know, whether that's accountability can look different ways to different people. So whether that's accountability to yourself on, you know, writing something down every morning that you want to achieve. The 5-minute journal I find is a really great tool for that, because it's a time to express gratitude, but it's also, I'm just gonna mute real quick. It's a time to express gratitude, but it's also a time in the morning to express the 3 things that you know, would make today great, the 3 things that you want to accomplish. So that's a great way to stay focused. Having an accountability partner, whether that's a coach or a friend or a mentor, is another great way to start letting people know, this is what I want to do, this is what I want to achieve, and having those regular check-ins.
And then someone's asking, so they said you're a professional coach. How do you do your coaching for what you talked about today, or do you do coaching for what you talked about today?
Yes, great question. I absolutely do. And I offer this experience is both a group experience. So it's typically, you know, 3 to 5 people who are going through the mental fitness bootcamp. Like I said, it's an 8-week program. There's an app, there's a book, there's daily exercises, there's weekly videos. So it's called a boot camp, absolutely for a reason, because we need to train our minds within those 8 weeks to start really generating a habit, so that we can continue to build those muscles throughout the duration of our lives. And I also incorporate this into my one-on-one coaching programs as well. So if anyone is interested in hearing more, I'm absolutely open to having those conversations. You can reach out via LinkedIn or my website or email, which is, I can throw that in the chat again, since I don't have my screen up again, Julie. There's email.
Awesome. All right, so we just have comments on Facebook and Zoom just saying great presentation. Tracy said really makes one look at things in a different way. Thank you, Tracy. And just really positive comments. Some people are saying I have something to think about today at lunch.
That's great. Working on your mental fitness over the holidays can be a really great time to put it to practice, because I know it can be a really stressful time.
I think that would be a good time to do it. Well, I want to thank you, Julie, so much. And thank you to everyone who was on Zoom as well as Facebook Live. Again, if you have any questions for Julie, I put your email in the Facebook Live as well, so they have that. Please reach out to Julie. If you have any questions about our group or membership, upcoming events, advertising opportunities, just visit our website at naperbiz.net. And again, this was recorded. and it will be made available later on today. So if you signed up and registered, you'll get that link to watch the recording. If you're on Facebook Live, just visit our website again at neighborbiz.net and you'll be able to view that. Again, I want to thank everyone for attending today. Today is our last networking event of 2021. So thank you for everyone joining and for Julie being our last speaker of the year.
You're welcome. Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, and I hope to see all of you guys in person in January 2022 at our next event. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right, have a great day.
You too. Bye-bye.